Imagine you're hosting a dinner party. You would not send invitations randomly to everyone, would you? You'd invite people you know, people who you know that enjoys parties like the one that you're organizing, who know you and you trust that they will have a good time at your party. And this way you use your time and your resources to create a fun event for the right people. Now, I'm sure that you're thinking like, what does this have to do with talent marketing? But I had to say that in marketing, it's very similar. A target audience is like a list of the people that you want to invite to your dinner party. It's a specific group of people that you have put together because you know that they will share similar interests and they will find your dinner party appealing, and they will find the people who are the other people that that are joining and you're inviting into your party interesting to get to know and spend time with. So smart business marketers do not market their offer to everyone because not everyone will be interested in their offer, because there's no such thing that everyone will find equally appealing. No product, no service, no workplace, and no job. In fact, the more specific and precise you can be as a talent marketer about your target audience, the more likely your marketing will be successful and return the value that you expect from it. And in this episode of Building the Modern Employer Brand podcast, we'll tap into target audiences in talent marketing. And as said, to be specific and precise, we're going to talk about the different target audiences when it comes to employer branding and recruiting. Now, this is a super important episode for everyone working in talent marketing today, as the success of your short term, meaning the recruitment campaigns, and your long term, meaning employer branding, depends on how well you understand and have defined who you're trying to reach. And I have to say that based on my long experience working with, I would say, hundreds of organizations, and in even more cases, the talent target audiences continue to be a bit of a mystery for those in this field and their management, and sometimes also their marketing stakeholders. So that is what we're going to talk about today. And if you are new to this episode, I want to welcome you to join us, my friend, my new friend. My name is Susanna Rantanen, and as one of the world's top employer branding experts and influencers, I invite you this weekly dose of employer branding education and inspiration that I have dedicated for those of you working in communications, marketing, and branding targeted at your current and future employees. Now, if this applies to you, you may also want to subscribe to this podcast and make it part of your weekly routines. All right, so let's talk about targeting in talent marketing. Targeting your marketing messages, your career offers, and using the correct media and channels based on who you are trying to reach, those are key to successful marketing. Without targeting, your marketing efforts can become like a ship without a compass. Your ship will be lost and your efforts will be ineffective, and your ship is just like wastefully drifting in all directions. And I want to start with the 3 crucial reasons why targeting is so important for the success of your recruitment marketing campaigns and your long-term strategic employer branding. The first reason is the relevance and engagement. So when you know who you're trying to reach, targeting allows you to tailor your messages, your offers, and content to meet the specific needs, preferences, and pain points of this distinct audience. Not everyone working in, let's say, software engineering or sales is going to be the right fit for your job offer or for your organization. You are going to be more distinctive about that, who you want to hire, than just the reason that they actually work in that domain or have experience from that domain. when you become more, I would say, specific and more personal about your marketing, it will increase the relevance of your communication to your target audience. They will be able to recognize themselves or their desires or their current situation or their needs or their future wishes or those pain points in your marketing messages. And that will boost their engagement to your content. And when your audience feels understood, when your communication makes them feel that you actually understand where they're coming from and you have some kind of, they're more likely to interact with your content, follow your calls to action, and become loyal followers and brand advocates for your organization. The second reason is obviously the efficient use of resources. Marketing budgets are not infinite pools of resources, which I'm sure that you have noticed. Targeting ensures you to allocate your budget and your efforts towards the segments of the market that are most likely to respond positively to your offerings. As said, not everyone will be the ideal candidate for your job or the ideal employee for your organizations. You want to be distinct about who you want to see your messages and who you want to respond positively to your offers. And this efficiency not only maximizes your return on investment, but it also prevents the wastage of resources on uninterested parties. And this is an area where you want to be, where you want to actually have control over. You want to know what you're trying to achieve, and you want to know who you want to reach with your messages so that all the efforts and all the resources that are available to you will be directed to exactly what you aim to achieve. And then the third reason is competitive advantage. Now, we all know how crowded most of the talent markets are. And when we talk about employer branding, differentiation is the key. When you focus on specific target audience, you can actually better craft a unique value proposition that will be able to set you apart from your competition. If you don't know really anything about your target audience, you have no idea what resonates in them, and therefore you will try to generalize your message. And unfortunately, the more general the message is, the less impact it has on anyone. Now, when you focus on your specific target audience and their needs, and you want to differentiate your offer, this can be very effective in niche marketing, where specialized offerings can often make your brand the preferred choice for a preferred and specific talent audience. Now, I think it's going to be easier if we're going to talk about this through an example. So I mentioned earlier the software engineers. Let's think about technology professionals, or let's be even more specific and think about those software engineers. Or if technology is totally untampered territory for you and you can't really resonate in this, just replace software engineers with any target audience of your choice. And then just think about that, your own target audience, when I mentioned software engineers. Now, this specific target audience is specific enough to know that they work in software engineering, right? But that's all we really know about them. And I'm pretty sure that among those millions of software engineers in this world, you would not be hiring randomly just anyone, right? You'd have more criteria such as their level of education and experience, certifications, qualifications, language skills, technical skills, personality traits, attitudes, motivators, values. I mean, the list is literally endless. What this means is that not everyone who works as a software engineer matches your job title or your genre is going to be an equivalent option for your vacancy. And the more you can distinguish between those talents that you ideally hire from the rest of their peers in the same talent pool, the more targeting you are doing. So when you, for example, go to LinkedIn Recruiter and you type in software engineer, and then the LinkedIn provides you with a long list of potential profiles of interest, you are going to do further skimming. You're not just going to start from the top of the list and start contacting people, right? So you're going to look through and you're going to have your own criteria. And this is targeting. So you're going to specify the criteria that matches your interest and matches their interests. And those are then the people that are going to make your shortlist. So that's targeting. Now, defining your target audience as properly as possible is key in successful marketing outcome, but it's a little bit different when it comes to recruitment marketing and when it comes to employer branding. So let's then talk about the risks of poor targeting in talent marketing, because I see this a lot too. So without precise targeting, when you don't know who you're really trying to reach, you are marketing apples to oranges and pears to bananas. And you know that those are unlikely to match. So you're essentially casting a wide net in the hope of catching someone when you could be operating like a professional fisher, knowing exactly which pond to choose, which pond to go to, which rod to pick to get exactly the type of fish that you're after. I want to address some of the key risks of poor targeting in talent marketing. So this is what you want to avoid. These are the risks of not being specific enough of your target audience when it comes to marketing, talent marketing. Now, the first one is, of course, the targeting everyone. And this is what we call a scattergun approach. It means that a lot of your marketing budget is spent reaching people scatterly who have little or no interest in your offering, who do not match your message at all. If you are on Facebook, or if you have been on Facebook, you've probably noticed some of the Facebook marketing, at least has been, in that you receive marketing or advertisements from parties that you feel like, why am I getting this? What on earth were they thinking when they targeted this advert to me? That's scattergun approach. When you look at that advert, when you stop at that advert, when you see that advert, they are paying for you to see it, even though you have no interest in it. So you don't want your talent marketing to have this kind of a scattergun approach. When you attempt to target everyone, you are doing the very opposite. You are targeting nobody. Because when you approach to target everyone, you have to be so general in your message so that it fits everyone, that it doesn't resonate in anyone. So it's targeting no one. The second risk is the risk of diluted message. Now, as said, when you try to appeal to everyone, that tends to result in a very vague and generic marketing messages. And this is very obvious in lots of employer value propositions that promises little to nothing, or the most generic things that everyone promises, that are kind of standard and basic expectations that add no value whatsoever, and therefore, have very little impact, resonate with no one. In the quest to be universally appealing, your employer brand's unique voice and value gets totally lost. It doesn't exist. It gets diluted, and you want to avoid that in all costs. Okay. And the third risk is the opportunity costs. Now, when you focus on a wrong audience because you didn't target, or you targeted poorly and ended up targeting your message to completely wrong audience, this means that you are missing out on the opportunity to deeply connect with the segment of the market that are most aligned with your employer brand's offerings and your values. And these missed opportunities can have a long-term impact on your employer brand growth and your share of the talent market. So you want to navigate these challenges, and you want to continuously keep up to date, gather and analyze data about your target audience, your target market, and your company's employer brand position among your key competition, so that you know that you are still competitive, or if you're losing your market position, that you actually know to do something about it. And this way you can adjust your talent strategies as you gain these insights. And it doesn't have to be any sort of mega scale research project, because if you do, for example, regular talent acquisition, you can continuously keep up to date with every single person that you interview, just being mindful about the information that you need from them, and their perceptions, and who you're competing with, what other organizations are interesting to them, and what are their expectations from employers in their next place to work. So you want to make sure that you are keeping your taps on your specific talent audience and your target market so that you can stay competitive. Effective targeting is really not this kind of a one-time, it is an ongoing process of refinement and adjustment. And I find that just being active on social media and instead of just going there and pushing, promoting your own content, exploring other people's posts and having conversations on social media with your target audience members helps you to actually understand, what's I would say trending in their space. Okay, let's talk about how you can better understand your audience, because this is really the heart of the matter. So the crux of effective talent marketing is knowing your audience and knowing the difference between your recruitment audience and your employer branding audience. These are not the same. And in the landscape of talent acquisition and employer branding, distinction, and it does often get blurred. The difference between target audiences for recruitment campaigns and those for employer branding are different, because the other one is very much about currently active job seekers, and the other one is very much about your future talent needs, those people that matches your future talent needs. So you want to be specific about differentiating these target audiences. And this distinction is not just a matter of semantics. I really believe that it's the cornerstone of strategic employer branding and also being strategic about who you're attracting in your organization. The other one focuses on target audiences that the organization needs right now. And the other one is consistently building new audiences for future hiring needs. And when I say new audiences, I don't mean new target groups or new target segments, but new audiences, because there are new people coming to the market all the time. And while you may not be hiring them right now, you may want and need to hire them in, let's say, a couple of years. So you want to build your new audiences in your same target group consistently for your future needs. Now, the thing of the relationship between recruitment marketing and employer branding, I would say it's like a wheel on motion. Employer branding and employer brand marketing kind of paves the way. I would say that it plants the seeds for the future success, and then talent acquisition blocks the fruits of labor. And the target audiences are different, starting at wider segments where mutual interests and are sort of like are first based on things like inspiring values and purposes and mission and inspirational and charismatic leaders and business. And this doesn't only mean about the business that the business is doing, but what they stand for in terms of values. Now, this is like a wider segment of people. And as people in the audience get more familiar with how much common they have with your organization and, let's say, some of your people, things can get more personal and then more precise. Attention is then being placed more on like, would there be something for me someday? And if you're familiar with the magnetic employer branding method, this is the candidate journey of the information era. People start on this journey with multiple organizations at different times and different stages of their lives. They may come off the journey with some organizations only to return again if and when they have mutual interests again. And this employer branding journey, it may take months, it may take even years. And your target audiences are not defined by job titles, because job titles don't come to the picture until talent acquisition takes place. So this would be at the very end tail of this employer branding journey, when a person who is now a recruitment lead or even an applicant or candidate enters the recruitment funnel and becomes actively interested in a career opportunity in your organization. And I think it's vital and very significant to understand that the audience that I'm trying to target with my recruitment messages is ready to proceed when the audience that I'm trying to target with my employer branding messages is not ready to approach that. I need to build some kind of relationship with them through our employer brand communications and marketing so that they know more about us, that they can trust and figure out if we are the right workplace for them. And then eventually, when they're ready to move forward, then they become your recruitment audience. So for you to be successful in talent marketing, it's very important that you learn how to separate your target audiences. Who am I trying to reach for recruiting, and who am I needing to reach for employer branding? As said, for recruiting, your target audience can be as dynamic as the role that you need to fill. It can be fluid, it can be changing, and it can be defined by the skills and the attributes and the qualifications, the expertise. What else is needed by your business and that team at the specific moment of hiring, not in the future, but at the specific moment of hiring. And then for employer branding, your audience is broader, it's evergreen, it's not tied to specific roles, to the essence of what your company stands for and needs to be known as an employer over the next 2 to 3 years. And this time frame, I often talk about the time frame of 2 to 3 years, but this time frame is cumulative. So all the time when you're planning your messages and doing your marketing, you are thinking of 2 to 3 years ahead from that moment. So it kind of never stops. You never really reach that 2 to 3 year end. You're just always working for the future. If you love fashion like I do, you know that labels are bringing out new seasons and new product lines, and they're always working on something much further ahead that is actually that we're buying right now. So it's kind of the same thing. You have to be in employer branding, you're working for the future, not for today. Whereas for talent acquisition, you're working for today. When recruiting target audiences, as said, must be very specific, because you want to be specific in sense of the hiring need, not necessarily in sense of the person that you need to hire. I always say that be specific about what needs to be achieved in this role within the next 6 months and the next 12 months, and then tell what are the key skills that this team, this business division, or this situation requires from that person. What are the essential core skills that a person in this role must have? And then allow your audience to determine whether those goals and expectations are appealing enough for them and whether they feel that they're able to fill those shoes. You don't want to be when you define your recruitment audiences or recruitment profiles, you don't want to be too specific about that this person needs to have 5 years of experience and they need to have a degree in this and they need to have brown hair and red shoes and so on. Because you don't know whether meeting your business objectives in that role require blue shoes or red shoes or whatever color shoes they should have, just as an example. So you just want to be very specific about what needs to happen in that role. And if there are things like, well, this role is going to be focusing on a customer segment who only speaks a certain language, then obviously that person needs to be fluent in that language and understand about the culture of those people. But still, it doesn't matter whether they have long hair or short hair or blue shoes or red shoes or what qualifications they have in their lives or what kind of degree they have. That doesn't matter. Only thing what matters is that they can deliver the goals that is set for the role, right? So you want to be specific about the goals and the objectives and the requirements of the role, not of the person. But when it comes to employer branding, it's not about a job title, because who knows who you need to hire in 2 to 3 years? Nobody really knows. This world is changing so incredibly fast that we don't know. So you want to position your organization as a distinct kind of an employer in a specific field, aiming for a specific mission and goals and working according to specific values and rules and ways of work. And then let people determine whether that resonates or not. So employer branding thinks about the future and what this organization needs to be known for and how this organization should feel different from the other options the same audience has. Sometimes employer branding may fully focus on a new talent segment to build a strong employer brand in a talent segment where your organization has never been known but must become known because of your new business strategy. I've worked with multiple cases where the customer company, the employer, was known as an employer in a certain niche, but then they needed to become known as a top employer in a completely different niche where they were totally unknown, and no one in that niche even thought about that they would offer work for people with that kind of skills and experience. So then we built the employer brand for that specific niche. It doesn't take anything away from the original niche because those people already know. One client that I can think about is a financial corporation. So everyone in their original target audience knew that if you want to work in the finance sector, if you want to work in banking, then you can have a career in that organization. But with digitalization, when they started to build their own digital solutions and apps and so on, nobody knew that they were actually an employer for tech people. And we helped them to build an employer brand and become a top employer for software developers. So that's a completely new segment. And today they are very well known as a software employer as well. But that doesn't take anything away from the original audience. Those people already know, I want to work for a bank. This is one of my options, right? So the difference between recruiting and employer branding audience is who you hire now and who needs to know you and how they need to know you in the coming years. For a healthcare company, let me give you another example. For a healthcare company, the core recruiting audience would be healthcare experts, right? These individuals are obviously crucial because they contribute directly to the business's central competency, and a shortage or a lack of healthcare experts obviously is very detrimental for their healthcare business and for their customers. They're the ones who need to see that healthcare employer as a number one choice in their field. And then this healthcare organization obviously has many other roles, which could be called support roles, but they could also be very important roles that are not really support functions, but they are not healthcare experts. They are not the roles that this organization may hire as much as healthcare experts, but they also need these people. The business doesn't function without. And we're calling them now healthcare industry professionals. These roles don't define their employer brand. This organization needs to be known as a specific and distinct healthcare employer. But it doesn't mean that these other professionals would not resonate with their employer brand through their potential alignment with the company's mission and purpose and opportunities. They are part of the story, contributing to the narrative in their own unique ways. But while they're not healthcare professionals, they are healthcare business professionals. There's the difference. There's the difference. Company still needs to be known as a healthcare employer, even though they also hire people who are not healthcare experts, but they are healthcare business experts. So when we talk about targeting in talent marketing and more specifically targeting for recruiting, we're talking about precision. Precision became even more vital with digital marketing and advertising for talent acquisition. Sorry again. I was on a skiing holiday last week and the entire family came home with a cold and a sore throat. So that's what this is. But imagine a sniper, like a really zeroed in on a specific target. That's your recruitment campaign. It's all about the now, all about seeking out candidates who perfectly match the need that you need to fill with their skills and competencies and potential and motivation and their experience so that they can add value immediately to you. It's a high definition picture of who you need right now, crafted obviously from the detailed criteria that are set by the demands of the role, the current status of the business, the needs in the team, the division, and the culture add that you're looking for. But when you recruit, it's not just about filling a vacancy, is it? It's about finding a match for the organization's way of work, the aspirations for its culture, and the ambitions that the organization has for its future. And a talent in this context is obviously someone who embodies the company values, can fit seamlessly into the environment, bring their own art, strengthen it, and can chase and wants to chase the organizational goals with the same vigor and passion, right? And it's much harder to match all of these criteria during a recruitment campaign if you don't have enough employer brand awareness in your talent market and your audience doesn't really know anything else about you but the vacancy that you have open right now. And that's why you should do employer branding aside recruiting way before you need to start hiring. Employer branding positions you as a specific kind of employer, kind of creates those lines where these employers who are type 1, employers type B, type 2, employers type 3, and then the talents know that, well, I prefer employees type 1, so I'm just going to follow that path. And every time when I see a vacancy in my choice of employers type 1, I'm going to pay more attention to that. But I know that I'm not the right match for types 2 and 3. So even though they would be promoting a job that matches, my interests, I wouldn't apply for that because I know that the organization doesn't fit what I'm looking for. If you don't have that kind of a distinct employer brand, you are more likely to fail in your talent acquisition. And I don't mean fail in sense that you fail not getting applicants at all. Your pool of talent available for your recruitment process is going to be less qualified, less what you're looking for. Doesn't mean that those people are less competent. They are just probably not the right match, or you are not their first choice. With employer branding, you can change this. You can really attract only the kinds of talents that find very strong connection with your organization, with your brand, that they really, truly want to work with you. And they're just waiting for that opportunity to arise. When you have that kind of an employer brand audience, they notice your vacancies. They keep tabs on you. When you hire, who hires, and they are more likely to apply to your vacancies, delivering everything that you're looking for and match between the aspirations and ways of work as well. And this is unlikely to happen if you only focus on hiring and you don't know your talent market, you don't know your competition, and you don't really know what your competitive traits are either. I think by now we have a good understanding that recruiting is connected with that immediacy of role that needs to be filled, and employer branding does not. Employer branding is about building a reputation, a perception that is strategically correct with your organization, and a promise. And as you know, I love storytelling. We use storytelling as a technical art. So for us, employer branding is the heart of business storytelling. And through your employer brand, you're not just speaking to those who could fill the role today. You're also speaking to your potential future leaders, innovators, game changers, and not just to those people directly, but also people who know those people. So you're engaging with individuals who may not even realize today that they could be or they should be part of your journey one day. That is the value of an employer brand externally. Internally, it does the same thing, but the people already work for you and they engage and commit stronger with you as a result of having a stronger employer brand. Your employer brand is your company's narrative, and I think that it kind of encapsulates your mission and your vision and the values in ways that resonate with people beyond that immediate recruitment need. And I think that this narrative is about paving this pathway for prospective employees to see that, so that your prospective employees can paint a picture of what their future can look like if they become part of your organization. I think that's a really compelling factor of building the magnetic employer brand. And what I need to highlight here is that employer branding is not a one-off campaign. It is a continuous process of telling that story, aligning that company mission with talent aspirations, and consistently building those new audiences for your future needs. And then recruitment marketing, those are campaigns. It's kind of like you've been building this lake with the fish, and then when you need to eat fish, you throw in your net and then you pull up some fish. I'm sorry, that's probably not a really nice way to describe it, but I hope you get the point. So that's the difference between employer branding and recruitment marketing. Okay, I want to talk to you about how you can layer your target audiences in talent marketing, but maybe I'll leave that to next time because I think I've already spoken probably at least a half an hour, and I want you to kind of sit back and think about the difference between recruitment marketing audiences and employer branding audiences, and think about what that means in your organization. And if you want to chat about it, let's have a conversation either on LinkedIn or on Instagram, because that's where I'll mostly spend my time on the socials. Okay, I'm going to leave and love you with this thought, and hopefully you got the point, the essence between recruitment marketing and employer branding audiences. Gosh, I have a snotty noise. So I'm going to leave as that. So that's all for this week, my dear audience. Don't forget to subscribe to Building a Modern Employer Brand podcast on your favorite podcast platform or YouTube. And while you are there on your favorite podcast app or YouTube, please give me some love. Rate this podcast. And as always, the show notes article is also linked with any additional resources available next week at the same place at the same time. Ciao.